Good evening. A cafe worker has been describing the terrifying moment he was threatened by a man with a gun. It brings to 10 the number of robberies in the Worthing and Lancing area, most of them armed, and police believe they're linked. The victim of the most recent raid told our reporter Charlotte Wilkins he feared for his life.
Grant Almond was cleaning up at the end of his shift when a man burst into the burger bar in Lancing where he was working and threatened him with a gun.
It's obviously a hot day, had the back door open, he just straight in, shouting, gun to the face, trying to get us to open the safe, but we can't, we don't have the keys in the shop. So he just took what he could and then ran.
Luckily, no one was injured in the raid, but it's had a huge impact on all the staff here.
I feel sorry for anybody who goes through it. It's just horrific. It's terrifying. It's such an experience that I don't ever want to feel again, if I'm honest.
Uncle Sam's is one of a number of places which have been targeted in the last 6 weeks. On Sunday evening, 2 men held up this branch of Pizza Hut just a short distance away. Police are linking the incidents and have released CCTV images of a man they want to speak to about another robbery at the Spa store at the end of August.
We've already understand that these people might be local because of the way the crimes have been committed, so the net is closing in, but until we catch them, we're just asking people to be vigilant.
Police say they have a dedicated team of detectives working on these cases, but are asking people to report anything suspicious. Charlotte Wilkins, ITV News, Lancing.
A 50-year-old man charged with murdering a woman in Bournemouth has been remanded in custody until November. James Darcy is accused of killing 38-year-old Hayley Dean at Gainsley Court on Derby Road on Friday night. Police say the two were known to each other. Police have named the teenager killed as he crossed the A303 near Andover last Friday night. He was Harry Butler, who was 18 and lived in the town. His friend, a 23-year-old man from Liss, remains in hospital with life-threatening injuries. The incident involved a camper van. A couple from Wiltshire have described their car as a potential death trap after it caught fire when they turned up the heater. Angela and Matthew Layton's Vauxhall Zafira had already been recalled and checked after several others burst into flames, and they thought it was safe. The couple say they weren't told that a second check was needed. Mary Stanley has the story.
It took just minutes for this Vauxhall Zafira to become engulfed in flames. Angela and Matthew Layton had been returning home to Amesbury after filling up with fuel. After turning on their heating to demist the windscreen, they noticed smoke coming from the dashboard, quickly followed by flames.
We had pure black smoke billowing out the heater vents at the top of the dash. The wife was really panicked. She's an asthmatic. She was breathing the smoke in. Told her to pull over as best she could. We had people pulling up with fire extinguishers in their own cars. We tried to put the fire out with a couple of fire extinguishers. Within seconds of doing that, it just burst into flames. The whole inside the vehicle was alight.
Now this is all that's left of the family car. Angela and Matthew, being in the front, were able to get out relatively quickly. But had their 4 children been here in the back, it could have been a very different story. In 2015, Vauxhall recalled 235,000 models built between 2005 and 2014 because of problems with the heating and ventilation system and fears of a fire risk. But a second recall was issued in May this year after the first failed to solve the problem. Today, the company said, "We have sent 4 letters to Mrs. Layton, the most recent in May when we announced the second recall, and in September when we asked her to make an appointment." The May letter included clear advice on how to operate the heating system until the second recall was complete. This would have protected from the regrettable fire that she experienced.
We haven't received the letter, but there's other people out there now that have had the recalls as well, and they're worried as well. There's cars catching fire constantly that we've heard through Facebook. You think you're buying yourself a safe, reliable car, and it's just not true.
It's thought around 300 Zafiras have caught fire in recent years. Vauxhall has appeared before a Commons committee to explain the problem and whether they acted fast enough. The Layton family are waiting for details from their insurance company, counting the cost, but counting their blessings no one was hurt. Mary Stanley, ITV News, Amesbury.
Ambulance staff have been holding demonstrations in Brighton over alleged unpaid wages. They claim drivers working for a subcontractor of Co-Performer have not been paid. The company says all its payments are up to date.
I was lucky, I got some pay at the end of August, a bit in September. I'm still owed unsocial, overtime, but I'm more concerned about my colleagues who haven't had anything at all. And that is an absolute disgrace. Yet they still have turned up for work, still taken patients, and that's the conscientious sort of workers that we are.
An auction of rare cars, motorcycles and watches has raised more than £3.5 million for cancer units in Dorset. They belong to Robert White, who died from cancer last year at the age of 62. Poole and the Dorset County Hospital will receive the legacy, which will improve the lives of hundreds of patients. Passengers on the worst part of the Southern Rail network have been told a full service will be restored on Monday. Many trains between Brighton and Seaford were replaced by buses when the company introduced an emergency timetable. It led to public protests from commuters at the station and at the company headquarters. Southern had planned to restore services next month, but has now brought this forward.
Over the last couple of months, we've been working really hard to get staff back to work. Part of the problem has been staff being sick and not wanting to work rest day. So we've brought in additional healthcare professionals to be able to get staff back to work, and we're now confident that we can do that. And that's why we're reintroducing the services from next week.
Two brothers from Sussex who had had enough of Southern Rail train delays and cancellations decided to take other steps to get home. Isaac and Otis Kirkley-Dunkley walked all the way home from London. A journey of 70 miles which took them 3 days. Malcolm Shaw reports.
It's a question which must have occurred to many Southern Rail passengers in recent weeks. Is there a better way to commute? Brothers Otis and Isaac Kirby-Dunkley decided to find out.
It's 2 p.m. We're about to walk from London to Worthing. Well, it was a combination of two things, I think. One was Southern just being so shocking and me turning up to the station and just having to go home because there was no trains or having to take a bus. Along with me being a little bit crazy and thinking, oh, it can't be that far to go.
Oh my days, this is hard enough for. Shoulders are dying, the bags are heavy. Starting to get grumpy. We're not even south of London yet.
The 70-mile trek took them 3 days to complete. Swollen feet, skin rashes and insect bites among the hazards.
We put up this tent, beautiful in the dark, look at it. And now we don't know where we are.
I don't even know if anyone's here, but we keep hearing footsteps and scary-ish.
We got to really understand ourselves a bit more and find our limits and push each other. So it was definitely an experience that I wouldn't want to do alone if I ever had to do it again. But we definitely bonded a bit more.
We're about 8 miles away-ish.
For Otis, the journey was a reminder of just how much we take for granted.
There's actually people doing that every single day across like water and land. Refugees are doing that every day. And we don't even have that in our news so much anymore. And to me, that was crazy. Look at this sign. It's beautiful.
Though they eventually arrived home safely, the brothers don't recommend this to other commuters. Despite the current problems on the railway, they will be letting the train take the strain from now on. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News.
You can find out more about that and all today's stories on our website. That's itv.com/news/Meridian. Football now, we had two sides in action. Bournemouth lost 2-3 to Preston after going into extra time. Also, Brighton played Reading, with the Royals beating the Seagulls 2-1. Time for the weather forecast now. Here's Simon.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and it's another quiet night tonight. Very little happening. We've got variable amounts of cloud, some clear spells. Temperatures, well, not too cold, 13, 14 degrees. And we could, towards the end of the night, see a bit of patchy mist developing, particularly over the higher ground. But any murk will lift fairly quickly first thing tomorrow morning. Cloud might be thick enough for an odd spot of drizzle in the west, but generally it's a decent start with some good sunny spells in the east, and they'll spread everywhere as the day goes on. Staying largely dry, but in that sunshine, the risk of perhaps an odd shower cropping up, and the temperatures going in the right direction. A touch warmer, highs of 19 or 20.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
That's the Meridian news and weather this evening. We're back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Do join us if you can. In the meantime, from all of us here on the Late News team, it's a very good evening to you.